Here's the completed assembly of the frames and the pillars and washers. Normally I don't like to show the final product at the beginning of a video, but here it is. So in this video we'll deal with the pillars and maintaining this distance in between the plates and also the washers. The first parts that I'm going to make here are 4 washers for the frames or the plates. So what it is 5/8 diameter brass, and I'm just going to chuck it up here, face it off, put a hole through, and then there's going to be 2 front and 2 back. The front ones are just going to be through holes, and then the back parts are going to have countersunk holes in them in order to take a flathead screw, because they will be the parts that are up against the wall. So first thing I'll do is just chuck this up and get a drill in there, face the part off, drill it, and start parting them off. The hole's drilled through, so now the first 2 washers I'm going to make are going to be the front washers. They're going to get a recessed area, so that way when the washer's tightened, it's going to be gripping on the outer edge rather than all in the center. So I'm just going to start this tool in there and take it in about 15 thousandths, and then just bring it back up the face. I started working on the other washers that have the countersunk holes, and essentially they're going to be the same as these, where I'm going to do the undercut. However, on these I'm not going to do as pronounced of an undercut, so I'm going to go maybe 5 thousandths into the face. And again, that's just to get a nice seal around the outside of the washer when it's clamped with the pillar. So I'm just going to touch off the face again, take it in about 5 thousandths, and then face it back. The next step here is going to be to countersink the back side, and there's definitely a big burr on there also. So what I'm going to do is put this block back against the chuck face and put the part in flush against that face, so that way I know that it's sitting perpendicular to everything, and then just snug up the chuck, slide this piece out, and tighten it up a little more, and then we're good to go. So we'll bring the countersink in here, and I have a number 6 screw right here that's a flathead screw. That's what needs to be flush. So it seems like the part's actually moving a little bit, so I'm going to tighten it up a little bit more and try again. Seems to be cutting now. So there's a little bit of a countersink. So what I'll do is just stop, bring my screw in here, and see where it registers on that countersink. I mean, it looks like it's gonna be needing to go a little bit deeper. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a good bit of it sitting out yet, so we're gonna want to take that a little bit deeper. Check it again. And it looks like we still need a little bit more. Yeah, it looks like that'll do it. So now that screw is flush with the face of the washer. So we'll do the other one like this and move on. So these are the pillars. So the stick out is the issue here. The part's about 2.8 inches or something, just under 3 inches the stock is. But unfortunately it can't fit back into the spindle. So it has to stick out pretty far. All that gets done here is I'm going to face this off, clean it up, and I'm going to turn a shoulder back 100 thousandths. That's a slip fit in the plates that were made in the previous video. So it'll be about 249 or so diameter inches. And then I'm going to drill and tap a 632 hole in the end here. Flip it over, do the same thing, and the critical part here is that the shoulder to shoulder on those turned diameters is pretty close on both parts, because that is what's going to create the distance between the plates. I'm getting pretty close to the 1/4 inch here, so I want to take a measurement, see where I'm at. Looks like I'm about 12.5 thousandths over, so I'll take another cut, maybe 6 or 7, 8, measure again, take a finish pass. Okay, I took about 8 there, Now I'm 4 over 250, so I'm going to take 5 thousandths, shoot for 249, and then we'll test fit it in the frame. So it looks like we're right about where I want to be. It measures 249. Here's one of the frame sections, so it should fit pretty easily in there, which it does. So we have the fit we want, and I even undercut the shoulder there on this one, so I'm going to drill and tap a 632, and then we'll do the same thing with the other pillar, flip it around, and do a pretty similar operation on the other side. One of the major drawbacks of the Sherline, I might as well talk about it now, is there is no reverse. So in order to bring this tap out, I have to loosen the chuck, pull my tailstock out, and then I'm going to have to put a tap wrench on it up here to actually back the tap out. It works, but it sure would be nice to have a reverse button. A critical part of the pillars is going to be the distance between this shoulder that I already have finished and the shoulder on the opposite side. So one way I'm going to try to control that is I'm going to very carefully mark out the overall length, and then when I get close to facing it, I'm going to use a 2 to 3 inch micrometer and measure from the shoulder to this face. I'm going to try to hold that within 1 or 2 thousandths. So I have my veneer height gauge set up to 2.7 inches. I'm going to hold it against the V-block here and scribe my overall length. So now that I have that marked out, I'm going to put it back in the lathe and face all of this material off, and then as I get close to that line, I'm going to take it out of the machine and measure this shoulder length. So I'm going to put the solid end up against this shoulder here and take a measurement up on this end. And it looks like I'm about 11 thousandths of an inch away from where I want to be. So I'm going to put it back in, touch off the face, and cut the other 11 thousandths. Now that I have the overall length exactly where I want it to be, I'm going to set up an indicator on the back here. I have the face touched off with the tool, so I'm just going to zero out an indicator on that face and take it in 100 thousandths, and that will be the final dimension, so it'll give me an accurate shoulder to shoulder dimension. So I'll just start cutting away down to the 250 diameter and then drill and tap the hole.